Welcome to another episode of Roses Are Red podcast with your host, Mrs. Red Rose, her co-host, Sam I Am from the Married Couple podcast, and AC from Midnight Media.
Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Hello, everyone. Nice to see everybody.
Hello.
Sam, AC, Gabby, and Arturo. Welcome. So,
What's up?
Thank you.
hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Enjoyed your weekend, or last weekend now. Throughout the week, now we're going on our new weekend.
We've got a
was a
holiday
long
weekend,
week-
right?
long weekend now, yeah.
Saturday.
We're doubling up. Yeah.
So
That's gonna
tonight
be
we have
nice.
So tonight we have a very special guest, and joining him is his wonderful wife. AC, would you like to do the introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know him today as the founder and the CEO of Youth Empowerment. But for years, he was trapped in a cycle of violence and desperation, ensnared by gang life and consumed by the community around him. He faced countless struggles and found himself on the wrong side of the law more times than he can count. His words. But he did find the tools eventually to climb out of this and change his life. How are you, Arthur Soriano? How are you?
Great.
I wanted to call you Arturo, of course.
Call me Arturo,
I went between Arturo
Arthur.
Soriano and Arthur.
Yeah, whichever
Which one do you
is
prefer?
good. So there's a funny background story to that. I'm coming from a mother from Colombia and descent migrated to New York, Bronx. And on the billboard, it said Arthur. So that's why she named me Arthur.
It's like King Arthur.
But she still to this day calls me Arturo. So my legal name is Arthur, but she calls me Arturo. So it's either or.
Did you ever be called Arturito?
Arturito,
Arturito?
Yeah.
Yep, Arturito. You know, I'm Cuban, so Arturito to us is R2D2.
Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah, welcome. Man, we have a lot of questions for you. I know that you have a big story to tell, and you have you do this for a living, so I know you're going to be detailed in what you want to talk about and what's important to you. So let's go from the beginning, ladies, if you don't mind me
Yes,
asking.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
How did this all come about? Tell us about growing up where you did and what got you into this life of crime. I guess I know it's overdone, but what got you into this?
For sure. And so my name's Arturo. I spent over 23 years of incarceration, experienced system-induced trauma, inhumane isolation, torture. I'm a federal, state gang expert. And so what that means is I work with individuals that have the highest of crimes, work with the public defender's office, private practice, lawyers. And so I say that to say that now, like, I'm a family man, I have a wife, I have kids, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, a 17-year-old that thinks she's 35, and a 24-year-old that finally settled in, right? So, that's my priority first and foremost, but just want to give you some background. And so I was born in New York, in the Bronx, 1976, during the crack epidemic. Mother from Colombia, just her and I, didn't work out with pops. A lot of domestic violence within the household, domestic disputes. So he left within the year. And so we went through that challenge of me not having that father figure. We ended up moving to Alaska for a couple years. And then, so I remember them thoughts vividly. Alaska, the snow, the glaciers, the snow sledding. It
That was a drastic
great,
change, huh?
yeah. So it was a great moment because it was peaceful, right? It was my mother and I had a couple family members there as well also. But
What made her
moving
move
forward,
to Alaska?
what's that?
What made her move to Alaska?
She wanted to get away from my dad. Yeah, she just wanted to get away from my dad. So, and
It
then
sounds
she
like something
wanted,
you make up. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna move to Alaska to get away from you.
just out the blue. I'm
Wow.
gonna move to Alaska, right? And so,
How old were
and
you then?
while in Alaska, then she had another thought 2 years later, like, I'm moving to San Diego. And then I'm moving to San Diego, and the neighborhood that we decided to move into was City Heights, back then also known as East San Diego. So in that process, I was being raised without a father in the home, I experienced a lot of different complex traumas. I experienced family sexual abuse while I was a kid. I went to Colombia when I was 6 years old. While I was there, I remember seeing my first murder right in front of my mamita's house. I was this kid, fearful, frightened, and I remember everybody would just run, but I'm just there, scared. And my grandmother would grab me, like, smack me across the face, and you better get inside the house because it's a routine there, right? If something happens, everybody's already programmed and knows what they're gonna go do, which is run in the house. So as a kid, I experienced all these different complex traumas. So I had a lot of anger, a lot of fear, a lot of resentment and boredom, and I didn't know how to handle them feelings. And so when I came to San Diego, I went through the school system. During that time, City Heights, there was no police station there. The closest police department was 10 miles away, which is at Warren Road. It was a high infested crime rate activity. We're talking about the late 1980s, early 1990s. During that time, there was a lot of activity with gangbanging, in particular in California. And so, being raised in that neighborhood, single mom, I was a latchkey kid. What latchkey means is my mother would latch the key because she had two jobs. She had to work in the morning, in the afternoon, cleaning homes, Coronado, different homes. And so she had to bring in the bacon, right? And do everything in her power to keep us alive. And so I needed that sense of belonging and that sense of purpose. So I found that in gangs. And then they became my family members. And we used to validate each other's trauma. Like, okay, well, you don't got a dad, I ain't got a dad, you ain't got a dad. So we're validating our traumas and we got something in common. Or I went through this trauma, poverty. So we're validating each other as individuals, and it becomes a family atmosphere.
It's a support group, right? You're actually like for lack of a better word, a street support group.
Yeah, it's a street support group,
right? And then everything's cathartic. You're kind of like bouncing things off of each other. You probably never were able to share those things anyway.
Yeah, and
was there a father figure that you guys? It was more like a brotherhood, or was there a father figure that you had in a gang?
The father figure was the older homie. That was the father figure.
Okay.
So if you were the older homie, then you were the father figure, and that's who we looked up to, like the older homeboy, the older generation, the older clique, and so because that's how gangs operate. So it's a form of a unity, family, and we don't have the right resources. You know, we're poor. We're gonna go out in the community and steal. So my first charge was a bike. I took someone's bike from a yard. I was in middle school. I went through the juvenile system. They put me on probation. And
So,
that's when I became.
I'd seen a news story done talking about curfew. In that San Diego has a curfew, and you had mentioned that in that story, and also had mentioned that at first you were more of a wannabe, wanna be in a gang, and it was just you and your buddies hanging out and giggling and whatever, and then it turned into more. But that was your first time. You had mentioned that most of the cops were just jerks and we're just like, whatever. But you'd also mentioned, well, I guess, let me just ask, tell me about Pac-Man.
Oh yeah, Pac-Man. Oh, you read the article.
I sure
Let's
did.
go.
Yeah.
Came prepared.
You did some research. Okay.
We all did our
This
research.
is what we do.
This is what we do. We all do our research. And
That's good. I love that. And so that was an article on racial disparities through KPBS with Melissa. And so Pac-Man, when he was a cool cop, trauma-informed cop, like, would come up to us and just have a conversation. Really, that's all it took. Not just come up and put your hands up.
Right.
Put your hands up. There's a difference between put your hands up than, hey, how you doing? How's it going today? So he had that gift. And we were able to build relationships. And honestly, when he would come to us, we would do anything in our power to like respect them, not cross that line, that boundary, break the law. And so he was a well-known Pac-Man police department police officer here in San Diego. And so that's a sign of someone that has compassion and doesn't judge, right? Doesn't come from a place of judgment. And so we were experiencing that during that time, racial disparities. Like if they see the kids out in the community, then boom, you're going in, you're going in. And then when I went in, I didn't go specifically for that. I went in for the bite, but stereotype through racial disparities. That's when I became to get wrapped up in a cycle. Now I'm part of the probation system. Now I'm going to juvenile hall for a week, coming back out, connecting with my mother. Now I have that system. I have to check in to a probation officer, and then it just became a cycle. I
Did you
went
feel
in
like
and
that
out.
didn't allow you to really progress because you were in, and then you would be hit with a fine that would set you back financially. You have court dates. Now you got to get a lawyer. Like you miss school. Like it's a snowball effect of just by the end of this, you're like, all right, I'm institutionalized at the end of the day, right?
It's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect, and it takes some time to get to that being institutionalized, but that's where it starts. And so
Did you
now,
notice? Did you notice when you were in I would imagine juvenile hall, um, it was more of a glorious type of thing. Like people in there were,
Glorified.
yeah. Was it more glorified?
Glorifying
Was
it.
it more because you hear a lot of different stories that this is where they made their families, their friends, this is how they got into it because they went to juvenile hall. Was it something like that? Was it something like that, or was it completely different?
well, it gets to that, but the initial like feeling is fear.
Like, were you proud to be there at any point? Were you proud, like a badge
Well,
of honor?
the initial is like the feeling is fear when you go in, because it's a system. Like you don't know what's going on. Like, and then once you get over that fear, and then you see your homies in there and people that you know from the streets, and then being institutionalized, going in and out, then it can become glorified, right? But the things that juveniles or adults don't express or won't share is that component of fear, right? Because it's looked at as weak, like, oh, but you don't share that. So it gets to that part. And so by the age of 18, I had already like went in and out about 5 times, different camps. I went to a YA alternative, Arizona Boys Ranch. There, it was military structured. I learned a lot of discipline, ran marathons, part of a basketball team, physical training, Mega Man, Iron Man. I was there for a year and a half.
So what
And
is
I thought
the ranch one? The what is that one? Is
the
that
Arizona
where
Boys, yeah, the Arizona Boys Ranch. So that was a YA alternative. That
A
was your last stop.
Youth Authority Alternative.
Yeah, Youth Authority Alternative. Back in
Mm.
the day, it was called YA. And so that was the last option for me to go there, or they're going to send me to the Youth Authority, which was YA. So it's like a mini prison for juveniles. And so,
At that point, what was your charge? What would you have been in for?
well, what I just went in for that bike, right? And then after that, I was just a runner. When I would go to camps, I would run from them. After 8 months, 9 months, I was AWOL and I was gone. So then I'll be out on the streets for about 3-4 months, get caught, go in, 7-8 months, I would run again. So that was my whole process. But by the time I was 18, after I got out that camp, I thought I had it figured out. Like I'm working. They wanted to hire me as a forest ranger at Sabino Canyon in Arizona. I was excited. 2 weeks in, I'm getting homesick. I'm telling my mother, I want to come home. Like this ain't for me. One of the worst mistakes that I make. I come home. When I come home, I do good for about a month. But see, I wasn't connecting with that personal development. All them complex traumas that I expressed earlier, I still had a lot of resentment. And I lived life with a lot of anger in my life. And so out in the community about 3 more months, I'm in the county jail, Old County Jail, in a fish tank, 2 black eyes, no belt, no shoes. I ended up going in for attempted murder. I shot someone named Richard Ramos, and it wasn't even a gang member. And the reason I named his name, Richard Ramos, is because I acknowledge him, right, for doing that. Because now I know better. Now I've worked on myself. But now going into prison during this era, it was all punitive. 3 strikes era. People were getting striked out, life terms. If you had 2 strikes, 1 strike, people were going for 3 strikes and you're out for having a drug charge.
Before
So
we go really quick, before we go further into that, I have a question for you.
okay,
Um, as seeing your mom, as a single mom, and I know a lot of us have been there as single moms. Is there anything your mom said to you when you first got in trouble, and that just kind of hit home where maybe that should have been like, okay, this should have been the point. Like now that you look back, that should have been the clue to maybe I should have done something to like. Is there anything where you're it just that one, you know, thing that your mom might have looked at you or said or that might have just said, this hit home?
the best thing is her example. Just honestly, her example of being a lady of values, Christian lady. Just she's strong, but she helps people like at all costs. And so, as far as nothing being said at that time, nothing was gonna work for me. I'm just gonna be honest, like not her words, not words from anybody, because I was still holding that anger and that resentment. And so that was something that I needed to connect with and deal with. And until I started dealing with that, there was nothing that no one was going to tell me that was going to change my trajectory. But
Did she ever?
her
Could she have?
example,
Could she have apologized? I'm sorry to cut you off, but could she have
No, you're fine.
apologized to you? And would that have sufficed at that moment, or is there something that she could have said at all to stop this?
no, because like
Okay.
the like it wasn't her fault that uh, the relationship ended. Like as far as the abuse that I mentioned, it wasn't under her household, so it was like nothing of her fault, right? And so uh, I guess what I could have done better is express that to her, like this happened, right? I just didn't know how as a kid. I didn't know how to have that conversation. And so during that time, for me, anger led to violence. That's
Do
what
you
it
think that's
was.
something
Anger.
we're lacking in the youth community now? Do you think that's something that we're lacking now?
Oh, most definitely. That's why I do this work. I'm able to understand and I have that shared lived experience. And when I connect with the kids, whether it's in juvenile hall or in the community, high schools, middle schools, right now there's a lot of challenge with the youth. And my first thing is like, this is what I went through, similar to what like I'm expressing here on this podcast. I express that to them because I'm able to do that now.
And I would think that back then, I mean, late 80s, early 90s, even through the 90s, it wasn't as easy to say those things. I mean, mental health was a stigma. You know what I mean? It was not something that if you felt that way, you were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say anything. So I
Those
I
were
feel like
different.
now it's a little bit easier to be like, listen, this happened. I have this trauma. And we're a bit more receptive to it. Would you think?
Yes, you're
Yeah.
complete. And there was no programs like the
No,
programs
nothing.
that we
It
had.
wasn't
Like,
rehabilitation. It was, like you said, 3
Punishment.
strikes, you're out. It was
It was based
just
on it was
punitive.
based on
Yeah.
punishment for sure.
and so like even at the school systems, like the teachers and the system that was in place that has conflicts and we need some systemic change till this day. But teachers, because I was quiet, I used to move around a lot, right?
hmm
And just they would stereotype me. Oh,
hmm
this is that kid that's gonna get into trouble. And you know what's crazy? In the 6th grade or 5th grade, there's a test. It's called the SMART test.
5th grade.
And a STAR test. So
Oh, the
if you
STAR
take
test.
this test and you fail this test, they're already pre-planning a prison bed for you for the future.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
What?
really?
They're already planning that. Yeah, like
That's crazy,
the
huh?
CDCR system.
Really?
There's
Yes,
a
they're already,
database.
yes, because
Mhm.
and I was just listening to this yesterday about data as far as like if you don't get that high school diploma, right? You're more likely if you're black and brown to be a part of the system.
Definitely,
You're,
but I definitely didn't think that there was like a system of like a Dewey Decimal System of like people who, you know what I mean? Like a
oh yes,
library of folks you can access and then correlate that to, well, these could be the next criminals,
yes,
and
that's
or that's almost like Minority Report. It's almost like thought crimes,
Wow.
right? Like you're
yeah.
thinking of a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
Yep.
it's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah. And it's everything's strategic. From our history to corporate business, individuals put a plan together, how we're gonna operate, the goals, the objectives, right? And so that's what was being done with that STAR test.
Yeah.
And so I was that kid that that
Texas
failed
is
that
trying to
test,
get rid of the STAR test.
Yeah.
right?
One of our,
And so
Something.
yeah,
one of our
so
live
then,
listeners says Texas is trying to get rid of the STAR test.
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's that?
One of our live listeners, the people who are watching live right now,
Yeah.
she's saying that Texas is trying to get rid of the STAR test.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Good job,
That's
Texas.
good.
Yeah,
That's
no,
weird for Texas.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Sorry.
They want to do their own thing. They want to do it. You know they do their own thing.
Yeah, but we got to start somewhere, right?
We do. We do. That's
Even,
good.
even
Let's,
brains are bigger in Texas. Even brains are bigger.
And so then, so I thought I had it figured out. I did it. And then I'm 18-year-old on a level 4 yard in Cinderella State Prison in California, high maximum, bald headed, no mustache. They asked my picture on the canteen, like, you can't sell cigarettes to this guy. So I was the only youngster on that yard.
oh, wow.
And so there you go, the older homie role modeling. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. And so I just followed.
How
I was a
old were you at that
follower. I
point?
was a follower. And in that process, the older homies is like, everything in there is racial, and it's separated by race, whether it's Latino, blacks, whites, others. Now it's a
How old
little
were
bit
you at that age? How old were you when you
When you're
went
describing
in
this
at that?
part,
Yeah,
18,
this
you
part.
said?
I'm 18.
you're 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm 18. I'm
I have a quick
18
question
now.
for
Now
you.
in prison.
Okay, so this would be the time that, I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is the time that you would be the first time you're entering prison as an adult, correct?
Yes.
as an adult. And
Can you
to,
walk us through your first day? I think that would be important.
for sure. And I'm gonna walk you through the sentencing.
Thank you. Oh,
That
thank
day,
you.
Yes, that's great.
that day of sentencing, I still remember to this day. I took a plea deal for 19 years on advice of my mother, my public defender. And the day of sentencing, I remember going there shackled and in front of the judge, and I sentenced you to these years. Until this day, I could hear the howls of my mother just echoing from wall to wall, just screaming and screaming and screaming. I remember just tears coming down my cheeks and feeling remorse, feeling confused, feeling fear, and not being able to express that. So now I get sentenced. Now I'm on my way to the big boy prison, right? Not the
Right.
juvenile no more.
Right.
And
That's
so
got to be incredibly scary.
That
Yeah.
fear has to come back from like the very first time when
Right.
with the
Oh, yeah.
bicycle, right?
that was scary, but I didn't admit it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody
Did
there has
any of the
fear.
homies tell you like, yo, watch out for this, watch out for that?
Yeah, and that's where the older homie comes in and tells you, hey, like, look out for this, look out for that. We're on this side of the yard. This is our yard. These are our rules. These are our structures. These are how we do things. So there's always a plan, right? A strategic plan too, like in all walks of life. And so you got to abide by the rules. And so on the level 4 yards, the way I like to describe it is a bunch of individuals in a park with unresolved trauma. Everybody has unresolved trauma, complex, acute, just unresolved. And you got all these individuals with unresolved trauma with all this testosterone. Guess what? Things are going to happen. And if there's no rehabilitation in the process, things are going to be dire and despair and worse. So I was in a position where I seen a lot of stabbings, riots, and then it got to the point where I was part of that process too, doing the stabbings, the batteries, being a part of the racial riots, because there you got to do it. If not, you're going to get hurt. And so they were feeding on that anger and that resentment as far as the older homie, right? Like, because I still had that in me. And so it led me to in and out the shoes. What are the shoes? Segregated housing units. That's the hole. And ultimately, I ended up in Pelican Bay Shoe. I went from Corcoran Shoe to Pelican Bay Shoe, 4 cells on the bottom, 4 cells on the top. One of the great things while I was in juvenile hall.
What do you mean 4 cells on the bottom and 4 like kind of like an apartment type of
Yes. It's like an apartment. You had
Right.
pods.
It's like, this
You
is
had-
administrative segregation, right? This is like
Yeah.
No, it's-
maximum
it's-
security, right?
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead,
it's
ma'am.
not
Go ahead, ma'am.
administrative segregation. It's like
Segregated.
worse, segregated housing.
Segregated
worse
housing
Okay.
worse than that?
Yeah.
And real,
Because you
real
see
quick,
stuff online and you
What-
like, jail shows that have ad seg, which is like separate people just for the people at home so they can understand what you're talking about. Go ahead,
yeah.
Sam.
And real
Yeah.
quick, Gabby, when did you two meet? Were you guys together at this point?
No,
No.
Okay,
So
okay.
that narrative comes way
No, that
later.
comes-
Okay, I just want to know.
Yeah.
I'll let you tell that when it comes, but I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to figure out
Yeah,
where all of this
now,
comes
now I'm just a
into play.
lost kid, confused in the
Now you're just
adult
a lost
world,
kid. Gotcha.
full of hate, anger, resentment.
So you get
Sure.
processed, right? So you get
Mhm.
processed into the jail.
Yeah.
And you
so-
never
so-
had kids with anybody else?
No.
Not
Wow.
that we
Yeah.
know of. No.
No kids with
Don't
no
worry,
one
somebody
else.
will come knocking on
you
your
know
door
what?
tomorrow.
And during that time, that's one of the values that I remember receiving from my mother, because she worked with individuals that had AIDS. And so she always
Wow.
put that in my head, like, use a rubber, use a condom, be careful, you're gonna get AIDS. And so
Smart
like,
lady. Smart
yeah,
lady.
like, and so that's
Smart.
one of the things that, and I always did that as a kid. I did protect myself. So to me, that was a blessing, because back then I
Absolutely.
wasn't ready to be a dad. So why be a dad if I'm not going to be present in my kid's life? And so
Smart.
this ad seg, the segregated housing units, they're holes. If you mess up on the yard, they send you there for whatever the charge is. Then they'll send you to a SHU, segregated housing units. And so I went to different SHUs for different incidents, and ultimately I was deemed a threat to the general population. So they said, you know what, you're not going back out to the main line no more. We're validating you.
Wait, okay. Don't skip over that. What'd you do to get yourself in that position?
Oh, stabbings, staff assaults, riots, trafficking. You know, I began to be involved in leadership while I was in prison. And what I mean leadership is prison politics.
Right.
So I was involved with the Mexican mafia. I ended up becoming a validation of associate of the Mexican mafia. So everything in there is an economy.
Were you
There's a-
already kind of fast tracked to be in the Mexican gang inside of prison because you were already initiated on the outside?
Well,
From a-
Or did you have to start all over again?
I was not initiated. I was a candidate
Okay.
because of my lifestyle and my aggressiveness and me not caring and this young kid full of anger and resentment. And that's something
You were perfect for it.
that was perfect for it.
Yeah.
That's something they prey on, right?
Right.
And so I was at the age of 25, I was running yards. What that means is a yard has 5 different blocks, 200 people within a block. So as far as Latinos, there was probably like 400 or 500 individuals that I had the keys. That means that, you know, I called the shots at the age of 25. So I was already learning leadership skills. It's an economy in there. Your strategic
so is it-
planning.
is it-
Go ahead.
Since you've been in there, is it true that, you know, you see all these things on TV and you see that everybody's separate? You've got your Mexicans on one side. Is it true that's how it is in prison?
Oh, most definitely. Everything is racial by separation. Like, you don't go in the showers with another race. You don't eat after another race. This side of the yard is where you guys hang out. You know, if something happens with another race and you have mandatory that you have to participate. And so that was kind of complicated for me, because in City Heights, we're like a diverse culture, right? We're hanging out with Latinos, Blacks, some Samoans, Lao, Cambodians, right? That's that type of neighborhood.
Vietnamese, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Filipino.
So that was pretty difficult for me, but then that's the rules and the structures that are in place. And so, but I'm glad to say that about 12 years ago, they all came together and they had a hunger strike. And what the hunger strike means is that all races came together to fight to get people out the SHU of where I was at. And so what they did is they didn't eat the food that was given to them. They starved themselves, and 2 individuals ended up dying for that cause out of hunger.
Wow. My
And
God.
so
How many
3
years
years
were you
after
in?
that, then they started the step down program. And so the step down program is when you're at the SHU and you gradually like get back into the main line. But I never had that opportunity because I ended up coming out to community. Now I've been out for 12 years. But what is the SHU? What is it like at Pelican Bay? That's 4 cells on the bottom, 4 cells on the top. There's a shower in the pod. on the bottom tier, top tier, what did it feel like? Felt like I was in outer space in a bubble because you had no access to the sunlight. There was no window. It'll let you come out for a yard for 1 hour a day. All
So
cement, all concrete. And
real
so
quick,
The yard wasn't outside.
right, the yard wasn't outside.
No.
One thing I want to ask is when you were when those things happened, you assault or stabbings and things like that. Were you given extra time on your sentence, or was it just being punished in the shoe?
It's a great
I,
question.
I received 2 extra years for
Okay.
a trafficking case in there for conspiracy to traffic drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was an extra 2 years. I went to court, the DA filed, and so I had to go through the court process while I was in there. But as far as the assaults and everything else, it's just institutional.
Gotcha.
And if the DA wants to pick up the case, then they have access to that. But during that time, like there were so many cases, like the DA can't. Like there's just too many cases.
Sure.
How many years did you do the first time in?
Oh, so my first time in at 18, I did 14 years, almost 15 years, and my last
Wow.
10 years was in Pelican Bay Shoe. And so
Wow.
the way that place is designed, like even the paint on the walls, it's a specific yellow because it deprives like your eyesight and it breaks you down mentally, right? And so it's set up like that. You can't see the sun, you can't see the light. It's isolated. I've seen people lose their minds, talk to themselves. I've seen people commit suicide. I've seen people just that deprivation of that system that was in place, that inhumane isolation torture that I was talking about. It's a living torture, and it's
Right.
military like set up.
Yeah, that's a
Military
war. That's an
practices
international war crime.
Yeah.
In most
Yeah.
places. And I was going to ask you that, and I was going to ask you about specifically how you coped, only because you were in the most segregated part, and you know, like you said, it was 23 in 1 hour out in the yard. How did you
Yes.
cope with the loneliness? What did you do? How did your mind?
So one of the gifts while in
adapt?
juvenile hall, like that I started, I remember reading my first book, Master of the Game by Sidney Sheldon.
Yeah.
It was a fiction book, and so I was just excited when I first read that book. It took me about a week, right? And then the next book, it took me like 6 days, right? And then like I started getting better at reading, and then so when I went to prison, I just read a lot. I read a lot of nonfiction, fiction, history. So by the time I was in the shoe, we did have a TV, right? And so we did have distance learning. And so they offered a 2-year AA. And so I would do that. I would get lost in history books and then have conversations with people about them. So for instance, Nelson Mandela, My Life, a great read. Everybody in the pod, we read it. Then we'd have discussions about it. Or
What year did you read the Nelson Mandela book?
like a book club. Yeah.
What year did you
I
read
love
that?
that.
The Mandela effect, Mike. Remember the
I
Mandela
love that.
effect?
There's a book club.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
It's probably
Oh,
a
yeah.
far cry from my book club, but
It's a book club that people just drink. Yeah.
yeah, we just drink.
I got a weed. I
What
say
is
I
a
always
book
got
club?
I got a weed club, but we read books.
Yeah, so I would escape like that. I huge chess player. Like, during sports season, we would gamble or breakfasts and just little things and soups and so it was interesting.
What's that? What's oops?
We would even gamble on like Big Brother and Survivor and who's
nice.
gonna win and so you,
Okay,
you
what's
have,
oops though? What's oops? I gotta know what oops is.
Soups.
I think she
soup.
said soups.
So
They
top
would gamble
ramen.
soups.
So that's
What
the
is
big
that?
thing in there.
They would
Sopa.
use
Sopas.
Top
Oh,
ramen.
okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, top
No
ramen.
se llama gumbo or no se llama
No,
Spread,
no,
a spread.
a spread.
Yeah.
Spread.
Exactly.
Spread. No gumbo. Yeah, spread. Yeah, so
Nice.
and so, but you know what's crazy? Because you had all these people, some in there had 30 years, some in there had been 25 years. 90% were lifers, were never getting out, but I had that date. So I would like always hide that and not express that because I didn't want to share that, right? Like they're never getting out. But one of the shows that really we would get into was Oprah, man. Like everybody watched Oprah, or
Really?
or it was a show on Extreme House Makers,
Oh
or
yeah,
they would
Oh,
go
makeover.
to
house
Yeah.
somebody.
makeover.
They make
I
you
Yeah.
a
don't know.
crib, and they're
They
like,
would go to somebody and bless them and
"Yep, that's
have a
tight."
new house and all that, and
And then the Trump show.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Donald Trump.
I
You're
besides
fired.
political opinion, I did love his show, The Apprentice.
The
That
Apprentice.
was a good
Yes.
show. That was a
Yeah,
good show. You got to admit, that was a good show. You're
Did you find
fired.
yourself watching shows like that because you were like, "Man, I want to have a house on the outside. I want to." Did that give you hope?
Yes, and so they gave us hope, and so you have all these hardcore individuals in the cell, and now like able to communicate, but more on a level of manipulating and causing havoc, crime, within the institutions, and we were entertained, right? So that was like part of our entertainment and being busy, and how are we going to do this and that and make this happen, and so that was the work that I was involved in.
Now, did you
But
make lasting friendships while you were in there, or you know what I mean? Because there obviously not everybody was lifers. You know what I mean? Were there people that you connected with that you still now may have a relationship with, or
well, now everybody just knows what I do because of the work that I do.
right.
So like, yes, yeah, and so, oh, now going back to that, the reason I started this work was because of my experiences now, being able to heal, work on my personal development, get to where I need to get to it, take all these classes, cognitive behavioral therapy, the criminal addictive thinking, how we think, how we operate, the quick excitements. I'm able to share these things because I really worked on myself. So I started that process first,
Mhm.
and I started that in the community. So
At what
after,
age? At what age did you decide to start turning around and forgiving and learning that experience of your? At what age were you in part of your life? And
when I
and
met
was
you,
Gabby part of that?
when I met
he
you
met
in
me.
Charlotte, hey, first of
Was Gabby part of that life? I want to know, was
Yeah,
Gabby
Yeah,
part
I
of that
mean, yeah.
life?
yeah,
Let's kind
You
of
know,
so this is a crazy story, and I'm gonna let her share that. And
yeah,
so,
because you know what? I never actually know. I never knew how both of you actually met. Because when I met you both,
I'm interested.
you guys were already
it
together.
is not a
Not your typical
it's
romance
not your
story.
typical romance story.
I love
And
that.
so I'd like to say that normally relationships like us from the past never last because they're toxic, right? And so let them know how we met.
Well, before we go to that, I think we need to do a quick
Yeah,
shot, real
we
quick.
get a drink first.
Before we go into
I mean, this
that,
is what we
so
do
real
on
quick.
this show.
Some more.
Yeah, and I also wanted to know, guys, if it's okay, like on the email that we salud.
Salud,
On the
everyone.
email that we did, salud.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of your accolades and all of your credentials, and I want to be able to put it on the screen. Can I put everything that you are all about? And I'd like to show. Is there a website that we can also show on the podcast?
Oh, there's so much. Youth Empowerment, SD.org. I have, that's the website, how to contact us. It explains the work that we do.
Perfect.
We're
I'll bring that up.
Yeah. Now
I'll bring that up so I can see it.
that we work with the elementary kids, middle school, high schools.
One thing I love about both of you is that you both are such a true couple. You know, you, as Gabby has your back, you have her back, but you both do it together. It's not like, okay, honey, you go by yourself and I'm just going to stay home and, or I'm going to deal what I have. You guys do this together. It's not, which is a beautiful thing to see, that you both have each other's back through everything.
Little.
Yeah, she's a definition of literally my ride or die. And I'm gonna let her explain the story of why.
Yes, please. I can't wait to hear it.
So we met actually doing bad. We were both living a negative lifestyle. We met what you would call at the trap house. I don't know if you guys know what the trap house is.
Mhm.
Oh, I know what a trap house is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm from Miami, Florida.
So we actually met trying to sell drugs to each other. and in that really negative, like, you know, what all that comes with that lifestyle, you know. And a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, introduced us, and you know, and from there we ended up, you know, living that life still for a few months, and not too long. I think we kind of just off the back saw that good in each other, and wanted to
How old were
do
you
better.
guys?
I was
What's
just
that?
going to ask that. Good
How old
question.
were you guys?
I was about 29, so like you were like 35.
This is like 35.
Yeah.
35. I'm 48 now, so yeah, about that.
About that.
Yeah, and so she's leaving a lot of stuff out. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Tell
we caught 2 crimes together.
We caught 2 cases together.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Wait, what?
We got
Okay.
we got into trouble together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, Patty, when I
Yeah.
met Sean, I was still dealing with that you know, aftermath of those cases, you know, and Sean really actually gave me a chance, you know. So, but anyway, yeah. So
He does have, he's one of he has a good heart that
he's
way.
one of them people. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
he's
so-
one of
so-
them
Soft
people.
spot.
I'm surprised he's
So-
still
so-
with me.
Yeah, so we're in this like process trying to figure all this out, and you know what? We need to do things different. Our relationship is toxic. It's not
it was very
good.
toxic.
So you
this is
did time
unhealthy.
too.
Huh?
So you did time too.
I didn't do no time. I've
Oh,
been
you
to
didn't.
the county jail and like just, you know, in and out, bailed out, or spent a few days in there, and that was it, you know. But nothing like, no, I've never did time. So
Normal
the
stuff.
cases that we caught, the reason why I ended up with the cases or with the criminal record was because I, you know, was like, no, like, because I know if he ended up with the case, he would have been gone. You know, he would have been
Oh.
gone. So I
She
ended
is
up.
your ride or die. I love that.
I am.
Yeah.
That's the real ride or die.
You guys, I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah, no, I totally get it.
It's the Bonnie and
yeah.
Clyde. It's the Bonnie and
Yeah.
Clyde.
It was crazy.
So,
No, it's a
but
good
you know
woman.
what? Like, this last time the last incident, right?
Mhm.
We were pulled over,
Oh gosh.
and she took the charge, and then I'm over here thinking I'm slick. I'm going back to the county jail, and I had some stuff on me, and
We both did.
and I get caught with it by the sheriffs, and so
in processing into
Oh,
going
wow.
into county jail, he got caught with it.
and so now I'm looking at conspiracy to introduce narcotics into the institution. I'm
Uh-huh.
already a striker.
Resisting
get it.
with force.
Yeah, I'm already like
Those conspiracy charges are shit.
and yeah. So I'm like, I'm looking at probably 8 to 10 years,
Right.
and that's when that was a turning point for me.
Yeah.
That was my turning point. I was in the cell. I was in the county jail, San Diego, and I was just looking around the cell like, you know what? I don't want to live like this, like a dog for the rest of my life.
And
I need to do something different.
is
And
is
so
that
I
what
met-
was the change?
Yes, this last time in. And so, mind you, I never received the resource while I was in prison. And I'm talking about personal development,
Of
self-help,
course, yeah.
support. And so that's when I had a conversation with Gabby on the county jail phone, like, look, we need to do things different. And so she was like, yes, we do. And then that's when she ran into Sean, right?
Well, yeah. So it was actually that conversation took place like about 2 months before I met Sean, and like I said, when we met each other, we knew we both like wanted better, you know. But that lifestyle's addicting, you know, and
It is.
and it's
I know.
really all we knew, you know. Like, I mean, we were raised by good moms and good parents and stuff, but
Absolutely. Yeah, you're both of your moms and both.
Yeah.
we
I
got
didn't meet.
great
I
parents.
met both of your moms and dads because I did meet Art's both mom and dad, and
Yeah.
I know Gabby's mom and dad, and
Wonderful
Yeah.
people.
they
Well,
are.
you met Ed, yeah, you met his
Oh, yeah.
stepdad.
But you know
yeah.
what?
I did.
I'm
Oh, man.
also raised by the streets. Like I had a mom and dad. I had a mom. I had a biological father, and a stepdad later on in life. But I was also
Well,
raised a lot by other people that weren't. So
Yeah.
I understand like having that double life too, coming home and just being a
Yeah.
different
I
person at home.
also have a past.
Yeah.
I luckily
Mhm.
wasn't in the system, but I probably should have been.
Yeah. That's me 10
Drugs.
times
I mean,
over.
it
I
was
should be
drugs back
dead
in
by
the day.
now.
I mean, it was. I absolutely understand that at that, you have that one moment where I have wonderful parents, and I was like, "Fuck you guys," you know what I mean? But no, I totally understand that moment where you're like, no, maybe I should do something different. So I totally get it. But
And I know Gabby's gone through a lot.
how long have
A
you guys been
lot.
together?
We like 13 years. We're getting
That's
we're
wonderful.
renewing our vows on July 20th.
Oh, that's
we're-
exciting.
It's our
14, right?
10-year.
Oh, is it 10 years? I
marriage
thought 14.
anniversary.
So
I counted 14.
Yeah,
I counted 14.
we never had a wedding. Like
Something like that. I don't know.
we had at the county. Went to the county.
We went to the clerk,
did that real quick. Few family members.
Yeah.
I'm fresh out of jail. Like, okay, let's do this. Let's get married. And so
I was the one that took the pictures there.
oh yeah, you did. Okay.
We did take the picture.
Yeah, so,
I'm like, that's right.
So
I was
now
there
that-
for their wedding.
Oh,
That's wonderful.
You know what? For your anniversary, that deserves a.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's been almost 14 years, just to let both of you know.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. And so, now that we're blessed and moving forward and doing the right thing, we're gonna do it right. Like we're gonna
have an
Yeah.
actual wedding.
Yeah, actual wedding at the church, at the.
They're more stressful than those shotgun ones. I'm just saying.
They're so stressful.
Go to Vegas.
They're
They're
so
stressful.
stressful.
So let me ask. Right before 2014, so you walk out of jail. Am I right? Is that 2014?
Yeah.
Okay.
2014, he
Yes,
got out.
my last
Right
time out. Yep.
Right before you walk out of maybe that last 6 months, was there like a special pressure not to get into trouble? And how did you handle keeping your nose clean so you can get the hell out of there?
I knew that like I had made a choice that I wanted something different and I was gonna do it, but I still didn't.
How long prior before that? Like a year before, 2 years before?
What was the turning point? I guess is what you're.
The turning point
right?
when I first went in. Remember, I was saying at the county
That
jail.
phone call,
That I was in the county jail this last time for this last charge.
Okay.
And my first time in the cell, I was like, okay, like this has to change. I'm not gonna live like this. I'm not gonna live like a dog no more.
Did you think you were gonna live like that forever at one point? Were you like, this is my life?
Yes, I thought I was gonna live like this forever. And so I received 16 months, and during the 16 months, fortunately and blessed for them 16 months, I went through Donovan, I went through Chino prison, and then from there, since I was validated, I went back to Corcoran Shoe because they wouldn't let me out on the main line. And so those were my last 3 months at Corcoran Shoe. And honestly, turning points for me was that the decision. But now I had a lot of mentors in there that were there for like 30 years, old friends, old people I did things with. And they were like telling me like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, you keep on coming in and out, and I've been in here for the last 30 years. I have a life term. I never getting out. Like, you need to go out there and do something different. And so those words resonated to me. Like,
okay,
you know what?
So
like, I need to get out there. I need to get out there and do something different.
Yeah, you made that decision, but like, let's say towards the stretch, let's say 6 months, did somebody put you in a bad position? And you're like, did you ever have like an opportunity to like?
Oh yeah, I had
like fuck up, or you were like, God, I can't do this.
Yes, I had plenty of opportunities to mess up. Drugs were being offered to me. I would say no, I don't want that.
On purpose, huh? To fuck you up, huh?
Well, not on purpose. It's a culture in there.
Yeah,
and that's how people are trapped up in there through that, and using that as a coping skill to like get away from their pain. And so I would say no, I'm on a different direction. A famous line in there is, I'm never coming back, right? But people come back.
Right.
And so I was like, y'all, you know what? I love you guys. I'm going to do something different. And so fortunately for me, I've always had my mother, that single mother that cleaned homes. Now she became a founder of a nonprofit herself. Wow. Right? And so now she's housing people. So now I'm seeing her like be an excellent, always excellent role model. Wow. Right from the very beginning, but now I'm seeing her into the business world with my stepfather, Eddie Wells. And so I'm like, this, you know what? I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna support that. And so coming out, I re-entered back into the community. Gabby had an apartment, and I had a cool probation officer, Mr. McCartney. He was like, you know what? Give me 6 months and I'm gonna get you off this system. I was like, okay. But guess what? You're going to be mandated to do 8 classes a week.
Damn.
A week. And at
That's
first
good.
I was
How
like,
many hours?
That keeps you busy. That keeps you from
like-
smoking weed. That keeps you from hanging
From
out.
doing
Absolutely.
anything.
and
Yeah,
at
I
first
can speak for
was like-
myself.
I was like, hell no, I don't want to do this shit. You know, like, I don't want to do these classes. Like, it's taking my time.
And real quick before you go in, if you look at that picture to your right there, the 2 girls that are kneeling down,
These
if
girls?
I'm not mistaken, both of them are his sisters right there,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Those
twins.
two. This is
Nice.
how a support community, his support system is. His 2 sisters, on top of his mom and his beautiful wife, are there. They
all
are
give
in
back.
they're all in the youth empowerment program with
Yeah.
him, giving back to the community. So that those 2 right there are his sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
they
in the
both work
communities.
with the.
Yeah, and those in 1994 when I went in for the 19 years, they were little babies. So they were babies.
They were babies.
Yeah, so they grew up with me while in prison.
They grew up visiting him in
Yeah.
prison.
Yeah,
Oh,
in
man.
prison, like in the visiting room, and so when I was having all these challenges, like my sister Michelle, she never gave up on me. But that last time that like I went in, my sister Rachel, she's really strong, and she was like, you know what, that tough love. I ain't messing with you. I ain't sending you no canteen. Like I'm done with this shit. Like you're gonna get it right or not. And so coming out, I had to build trust with my family and rapport and build that back. And her saying that within 3 years, me out, now she works with me. She's our chief administrative officer, right?
That's
Rachel Wells.
wonderful.
So and she's a blessing. And so we have a great foundation of a family. And you know, we're a staff of 24 with about 4 subcontractors. And so we're all family. Our retention rate has been exceptionally awesome. Only one person has left within the last 8 years, and they left because of a other great opportunity, which was great for them. And so I do everything on a trauma-informed approach and system, effective communication, supportive staff, individualized support from the board on down.
So
Like,
and that's family is everything, right? But
Yes.
real quick, we do have one of our live listeners asking a question, and this is kind of what a live cast
can you
is.
read
Has
it?
to put his glasses
I'll,
on.
I'll say it. I'll just say it to you. He said, "It's my husband, Dave." He says, "Arturo, what is the number one piece of advice that you would give to today's youth to set someone in the right direction?"
The best advice through is finding what they're passionate about first. Not like really like getting into whether they want to be a CEO, a electrician, artist, like really tapping in onto their gift. And then after they tap into their gift, like just supporting and motivating them towards that. Because once they get into something that they feel passionate about, they're happy about, then on their own, they're gonna figure out that whole process out.
That's wonderful.
And
Arturo,
so,
what's
like, when
happening?
when
What's
I
happening?
re-entered back into the community,
Mhm.
I took all these self-help, personal development. I went from, you know what, man, I got to do this shit, to being so freaking interesting.
Mhm.
How
Like,
did you, real quick? How did you? You mentioned your trauma. How did you come to a place where you could deal with your own trauma and then go, okay, I know that this happened to me, and move forward? I mean,
Them-
how
them-
long did that take for you?
them classes I'm talking about.
Okay.
So like these are 8 classes. So we're
Mm.
talking about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mhm.
We're talking about the events in your lives, the thoughts, the behaviors, your feelings, how to cope with them, the anger, the resentment, the fear, the boredom, how to cope with them, what past traumas have been a part of your life, how
Did
to
you
cope
start
with
that in prison, or did you start that after?
But this is after. I never
Okay.
received that one resource for personal development, self-help. I never received one resource for that. Now things are different because of where I was at.
Hmm.
Remember, I was in the shoot.
Sure.
So there was no access to personal
Right.
development, self-help, none of that. So I received them resources out here in the community from our probation officer because they were mandated. I was forced to.
It seems like it was a very quick time from being released and starting youth empowerment, right? I mean, it was 2014, right, when you came out, and then it was 2015 when you started youth empower, or when you know started doing big things. I had seen something that you every Sunday you would have kids at the park with adults where you could mingle. Is that something that is still going on, or
But we do community engagement on all
right?
different levels, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's at parks, it's at events, it's at schools, it's at lunchtime auditorium, it's at taking these kids to Comic Con, to the zoo,
I
to
love it.
the beach, to you name it, et cetera, right? And so, because that's the root of how we started, right
Mhm.
there. Hey, there you go. There's a picture
Oh
of that.
yes,
Yes.
I remember that
Look
part.
at that!
Yep,
Look at that! Look at
Right.
that! Look at
It was
that
like
group.
once a month
that
you
was
did
the
a
first
barbecue,
event.
but you know had things going on where you played it was just a gathering where,
Yeah, that's it.
It
youth
was a, it
could
was
feel comfortable speaking with adults. And I also love how you have parent programs as well, because
yeah.
I was a single mom for a long time.
Mm, yeah.
Until I met my husband. I mean, my oldest daughter has put me through it, and I honestly wish she would have had something here. I'm in Nebraska, for Pete's sakes. I'm
Mm,
not, you know what I mean. I wish I would have had something for her, because she didn't listen to me. I mean,
mm.
at all. I was like, she ran away. She did all these things, and I wish she had other adults who could make an impact on her like you are doing for that. So I think that's really great how you also have parent um, things for us to learn and to communicate with our kids and to help them
Yeah.
not do
Um,
not go down the path that I didn't want my daughter to go down the path that I did,
Hmm.
and inevitably she did. She kind of repeated her mom's mistakes, and I think it would have been nice to have something like that here to help her as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we're like we started like that grassroots movement, and then it became a ripple effect. Like first and foremost, we built the relationship with the community. After that, put the nonprofit together, and the rest is history because we were doing genuine work. And so then we start receiving the contracts from the county, the state, the federal foundations. And so it started with the youth,
Hmm.
but then it started with the individuals, and we always went on the need, right? So we
Yeah.
started with the youth, we started with the reentry population, and then we were like, you know what, working with these youth, we need to work with their families too. So we need to go get trained up on that and how to
Hmm.
best practices, best way to work with them. So now it's like we work with the whole family component, like
I
the
love
youth
that.
and the family.
It
And
takes a
so
village, right?
it takes a village. It
It
takes
certainly
a
does.
village, but the parent needs to be present, right?
Absolutely.
Needs to
Yeah.
be present. And so what
Key.
I tell these parents is that, and personal development. I'm big on personal development. What we do, right? Whether it's negative, good, kids are gonna see, and they're gonna like. We're not here to teach you how to be a parent, how to discipline, but how do you work on yourself to be the best version that you could be. So ultimately, they could see that, and we don't even know if that's gonna turn out right or not. Right? That's
Right.
the
Right.
So
best chance because they're
I,
gonna
I
be.
I have a question for you. How
Yeah.
do you deal with maybe a parent that just doesn't, the kid wants to change and they want to do better and they want, and you're there to help them. Um, but the parent just doesn't believe in it. How do you deal with something like that? Because I know we live in a world of a lot of negativity. How do you deal with a parent that just says, you know what? Because especially coming from um the Hispanic side, a lot of it, they're like, my kid doesn't have, they don't have mental health, they don't have this, they don't have that. How do you deal with something like that? How do you help a child that really wants to get help, but the parent just doesn't want to be there and the child really wants it?
That's a hard challenge because if you don't have the involvement of the parent, like, and like the way you're putting it is the involvement because they don't want to be a part of the process, but then there's also the parent that's involved in the lifestyle, right? And
Mhm.
so
Generations
if
of
they're not like attempting to work on themselves and get shit right, then it becomes a hard challenge because they're with us on different programs, different days, but ultimately they come back to the house. They come back to the home. So the parent needs to step up and be on our same page that we're working together to bring the best outcome for this youth. So there's always challenges in the work that we do because we work with the hardest population to serve.
But
Absolutely, yeah.
as far as like the Latino like community, like the POM, the parent workshops that we do, like I'll do them in Spanish, you know, and that curriculum is just, man, it's once you hear it, like, and you know, I'm brought up like my mom, like I'm not even like I'm a migrant myself. I was born in Tijuana and I grew up here, you know. But like we come with that strong like belief of like, you know, you don't express your feelings. You like you keep to yourself. You're not crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You don't cry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't cry. You don't like. Come on,
The family has a ton of skeletons in the closet. Yeah, we never fess up. We just hold it inside. We bottle it up until it explodes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that being able to to provide that workshop in Spanish, that's one of my biggest passion, is to be able to communicate all of that to our Latino community, you know, like that. They're just like, you don't know, like, I know a lot of things seem like they're like common sense, you know, but it's common sense isn't always common practice, you know.
No, it's not common at all.
Just being able to like just bless them with all that, you know, and just that understanding of just the different, you don't have to stay living like you've been living your whole life, you know. You could do things
You can
this
change.
way, you know.
You can.
So is there a story? Is there a story that both of you have that has completely touched both of your hearts? That it's a story that you will never forget, or a story that it will always be in your heart, that you will always share. Like I know Art, you said, you know, you always share the gentleman that at a young age that you took his life. That will always be a story you always share. Is there, both of you together working in this youth empowerment, is there a story that both of you have that just has completely touched your heart, that it's like, you know what, this is always I'm always gonna carry it with me?
Yeah, and so I'll tell one. I'll let my wife tell another. But there's so many now. I mean, there's so many. Like, and
How about one that made you in the beginning?
I'm gonna mention one, and a kid named Chava, and his mother had bipolar, schizophrenia. His dad was murdered from a gang member from the same neighborhood, and so this kid was lost, confused, had grandmother, like, because raising him because mother had mental health issues and couldn't raise him, and so he's one of our first kids that you see in that picture, the Toronto Park picture. And so when we met him, we actually took him to the home right there on Logan, and we had a conversation on the table, and our conversation was like, you know, what do you want out of life? What do you want to do?
I told him where he's seen himself in 5 years.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? He goes, I see myself in prison now. Like,
damn,
that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going.
Wow.
No chance.
Yeah.
No chance
so
with that mentality.
I was like, okay, so let's. So we worked with them, strong advocate at the juvenile courts. Remember, Judge Willis been really, really super cool, like really eye contact, and you know, okay, you got him, I got him, because we knew the story, and he would go in and out juvenile hall, in and out, and we would always never give up, and now he's a business owner. He's a family man. He has 3 kids.
Wow.
Like, he's doing good in the community. He has a boat.
That's it.
He has a boat.
We don't got a boat.
I don't got a boat.
Yeah, what the hell? I want a boat.
I
So,
give you a paper boat.
I got a quick question for you. Let me share my screen back over here, and you have a quote here that says, "My journey from the confines of a cell to the front lines of a social reform was not marked by a single epiphany, but rather a series of stark realizations and gritty encounters."
Yeah.
Unquote. What did you mean by that? When did you come up with that? How did you have that?
My realities of that cell, and like, didn't define me, but there were purposes in them, and like all the leadership skills that I learned while I was in there for manipulating and scheming and being part of a criminal activity. Now I do things for good. I use my tongue for uplifting and turning individuals into leaders, putting them in positions of power. And so 98% of our staff that I hire, like normally, if you get hired, you got a record. If you got the record, that's like a red flag, right? Not for me.
Typically.
No.
Not
We
for
live for
me.
that.
We live for that. Yeah.
Wow.
I need
Need that lived
I
experience.
need that crime. What was that crime?
Well, I mean, honestly, how can you relate to someone unless you've been there, right?
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I totally understand that. I mean, anyone could be like, well, you shouldn't do this, but you can be like, listen, I was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've lived that life. I know where you've been, and
Yeah.
let me help you get out. I
Yeah.
think that's wonderful.
Everybody coming out has this fear, has this like anxiety, like how can I make it in the world? I'm institutionalized.
Mhm.
I've been, I've been told what to basically do and where to go and where to sleep for my entire life. How could I function in the real world?
You
It
don't
must feel
even know
like
how to
did
get
it-
a driver's license,
right.
a
Right.
bank
Did
card.
it feel like
the most
space? You were like, oh
the
my God,
most
this is Futurama, right?
Yeah. the most simple things like are so difficult.
Right.
And so that's where we're guides and navigators. Look, we're not the only solution. I'm big on therapy myself, like going to personal
Absolutely.
therapy. And so we're blessed to just hire a therapist the other day, licensed and everything. And so we're the navigators, like the shared lived experience. But where's that opportunity for employment, for career readiness, for
Yes.
college, for universities, for right? And so we want to be a bridge to get that person to the right person,
To the right
or
resource.
right resource, right organization,
Yeah.
where they're going to be able to thrive and be great members in the community. And so, you want to tell me about Joaquin?
Be,
About Joaquin.
yeah, before we go into that, I really want to know, Gabby, what's the one story that you'll never, it will always touch your
Who are you?
heart, that will always, it will always be a story that you always want to share with people, to say, you know what, either this person turned his life around, or what's that one story? Because I know you've had a lot of walks, paths of lives that yeah, that it's been, you know, heartful and stuff. So what's that one story for you?
I don't know, like so much like about like I think that like the majority of the kids that come with us, like that are part of our program, they thrive in different ways, but I think the ones that I carry, like I'll say I carry them heavy because we've lost like a few kids that were like near and dear to our heart, and these are kids that we worked with like a lot, and those are kind of just like the ones that stick with me, is the ones that we couldn't save, the ones that we couldn't help, those are the ones that stick with me. So we have a couple of those, like a handful of them actually. So those
And
are the
I've
ones.
got a question for both of you. What made both of you want to together start this program? What at what point did you say, you know what, honey, let's do it together? Or who's the one that came up with this idea? Was it Gabby? Was it you, or Art? Was it you? Like, who came up with this idea and said, you know what, let's do, honey, I want to do it with you. I want to join you.
I think
Let's.
it's both of us.
It was both of us.
We had these
and then,
conversations, and we where they started.
Yeah, it was both of us, and because mind you, she worked with Sean, so she was a little more busy, and so I had more access to just go volunteer for 3 years with no source of income.
But you're not okay. So that's not where it started. That's not where it started. So it started prior to that last incarceration you had. It started at the Embarcadero when you were going over here, and that's where that conversation started.
So we start having conversations
like early on.
Yeah, like what can we do different for ourselves, like because
to help people that walked in our shoes.
I love my neighborhood. I love my homies, and so normally like people get out the neighborhood, and so I found a way how to get back in the neighborhood, but with a different purpose. So now I'm helping my homeboys. I'm helping their kids, their nieces, their families, their nieces, their nephews, right? And so that's what I'm known for now. And so the conversations at the Embarcadero are like, how can we put something together that's going to help? And so it was all volunteer. It was a volunteer spirit for 3 years. We put the nonprofit together, but we didn't know what the hell we were doing because we were so busy with the community, right? And so, like, I mean, that's the bottom line.
We would do like when we were there at Peralta and we have no funding, nothing. We would like do fundraisers, raise money, sell food, raise money, take the kids paintballing. We would take them to Aquatica, like to the water park, like the majority of the kids that we had never even like really even been to the beach. And we live in San Diego, you know, like but they getting out the neighborhood, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we did a lot of like just on our own.
And we did it out of like community therapy, and like the reality is like out in the nation, like the grassroots movements, as far as the nonprofit work, is one of the more pure movements as far as like how to start a nonprofit, because you're engaging, you're building, you're lifting people up, like you're being effective, you're coming out of restorative, and then you see where the needs are at, and then like the rest is history. That's why we never chased contracts. Like they all came to us after building the relationships. And when I say the relationships, first it was the community, but then it was with the police department, probation, county board of supervisors, county, HHSA. And so you mind you, like I come from a place where police, right? Like, oh no, like I'm not going to communicate with you. So
Was there any police officer where you're like, oh man?
Yeah, Pac-Man.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, actually, there's another one.
Well, see, Pac-Man was one thing, but I always give credit to police officer Cooksey, because our son was in the hospital. He got into a fight with another kid, and so he was in the hospital, nothing major, and this officer's there talking to Adrian and telling him about the program at the police department, a youth program.
That's my name, by the way.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so he's telling him to let him talk for like 5 minutes, but I could see this guy was genuine. Like he was real in his conversation and he had a heart. So I was like, you know what? I just got off probation. I just got off, like, what's up? Can we all go? And then he's like, okay, come to the police department then, that same day. So that same day we went, my wife and I, the kids, the 2 older kids, because the other 2 weren't around. And it was crazy because like my nervous system was going haywire. Like now I'm coming into the police department on this whole different term. And then I get to the second floor. There's about 8 kids. And he's there. And this lady, Dana Brown, with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Oh, I
and
remember
they all
Dana
loved
Brown.
on us. Yeah.
Remember her?
I remember Dana Brown. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Loved on us and like just supported us. And she was my inspiration and my mentor. She took me to all these meetings, schools, and all the places that I needed assistance on and help on strategically, as far as the corporation, financially, the board of governance, how do you put that in place? And it's a whole thing, right? So I've been blessed to have all sorts of mentors in my life, from the professional to system folks to, I've had people that were supervisors from probation that didn't believe in the work. Now they're on our board as far as youth empowerment, right? And so we're working together now. So we're winning them hearts because, as I'm telling this story, not everybody believes in the redemption. They're like still stuck on their ways. Like, no, this guy's a gang member.
He ain't
never gonna change.
No, I find that by having a past myself, even my family members are like, nah, she's still that same person she was back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't believe you can make that change. Do you find that by starting the nonprofit and helping, it was that facilitated your healing as well?
Most definitely. Yeah, because like I'm either or. I'm an extremist, whether it's for good, bad, like
all or nothing, right?
Yeah, all or nothing. There is no in between. So this was like community therapy.
Mhm.
I love the business world. Like I love building it. Like, and with mentors, I have some skills that I learned in prison. Now doing things right out here in the
I mean,
community.
our
Like,
past isn't always a bad thing. We learn from it, right? We get
yes,
valuable skills for this day and, you know, our
yes,
lives now. I believe that has
yeah,
helped me as well. One thing
yeah.
I kind of want to circle back to is you had in that article about the curfews in San Diego, you had mentioned or you had done a youth drop-in center during the summertime. And you were like, oh my gosh, these kids are actually staying from midnight to 6 a.m. It's giving them a place to go so they don't have to be picked up and all. One thing I found interesting is that, or not interesting, but I thought sad was that they said they didn't have the resources for it back in October, right? Um, has that been revisited back now in the spring, or is that something that you're trying to move forward with?
It is like so at the
Hmm.
YMCA in the neighborhood that I grew up in. Now we have an after school program there,
That's
and
wonderful.
so the kids from Hoover High they go directly there, and we have like 40 to 50 kids that are enrolled, and so every day they have access, even though they have to leave by 7 because the Y closes at 8.
Right.
We created that space with the foundation, and so right now we have our vision is hopefully through Sarah Jacobs' office here in San Diego in Congress, we have a proposal put in place where it's going to really highly support that after school program. So now we're having discussions on our own location. Like, where do we get, like, we have office space and everything in that neighborhood, but how do we get that location? So now we're having discussions with the funders and foundations on how that could be possible. And so everything that we put into vision has happened. So now we just strategically have to put something in place to get that building, right?
Right. Do you think
Yeah.
that late night thing for, I mean, even if it is, from 10 to midnight for kids to just hang out and have a good time and not get into trouble, do you think that will be approved or is it something that you want to see going forward?
We're building towards it.
Okay,
And
good.
so like we're yeah, like we're and when I say building towards it means that we have a grants team of 8.
Okay.
Yeah, that puts these proposals together and summarizes the language like, and so we're moving forward like to build toward that to get that.
I
That's
have a
wonderful.
question. I want to
Yes.
go back a little bit. At any point of this, in the beginning of you guys starting everything, at any point did you guys say, you know what, this is just too much for me to handle? At any point, did you guys want to just say, you know what, fuck it, I can't because of maybe the you get too invested where you put I know you guys put your heart 100% out there on each and individual kids. I know you guys do that. And you guys care so much. But with that comes a lot of walls up from these kids. At some point, did you guys ever say, you know what? I'm done. I can't deal with it. I want to give up. At any point, did you guys want to give up or was this just like, you know what? No, because of your past and what you've gone through.
For me, at first it was difficult because the financial, right? Like my wife, she worked with Payless,
With
and
Sean.
yeah, with Sean, and so I had a like part time, and so I was like, man, like some gotta give, right? After 2 3 years, something got to give, right? But in order to start something, you got to put the grind work and the time and the effort to it. And so there was always like, because I could have easily just got into it with my mother if it was for the money, and so she knows how to make money. So like I was in good hands with that, and so but I was like, no, I want to do something different, and then so it turned out to be a blessing in the end. As far as like we're comfortable now, have our own home. If I want to go on a vacation, I could go on a vacation. I could pay my kids sports equipment. I'm comfortable, not rich, but comfortable. And so I think at this point, it's the like Gabby was saying earlier, the stories that the people that don't make it, the effects of that vicarious trauma, that they're a part of, whether it's one of our kids that experiences a death, or an adult, or a family member, right? Or different situations that, like, I'm a gang expert. I go in there into the county jails, East Mesa Detention Facility, South Bay, downtown, the very same counties that I used to go in and out. And so I'm hearing their stories, and all their stories relate to the stories that I expressed earlier. And so that weighs on you as a person, right? So I'll come out the county jail drained out, like drained out. So I need to like understand what self-care is, and learn when to say no, when to put boundaries in place. Because when we were living at your house, Patty, like we used to have all these kids over there,
I know.
And so like that's a boundary number one, right? Like, and so,
but we weren't a nonprofit yet.
but yeah, we
That's
weren't.
when we were
Yeah,
just
I mean,
doing the
yeah,
work.
But you guys did do a lot. You guys did do a lot. You guys, and I know from firsthand experience, I can testify that, you know what, you guys did do a lot. You guys were there not only for the youth, but also for the older generation too, because your mom um did, the in care, and the man that always stands out to me is the one that always comes back once a couple months. He was a gentleman that they
Daryl.
always come. Yes, he always. Yeah, we saw him twice already, and he came back. Because that was his home, and but I do know that from me firsthand seeing it, this is a very loving family that does care. His mom does care. Gabby's mother and father are tremendously hard loving workers, just like Art's mom and dad. And I know your dad, stepdad passed away, but they were very, they're tight. They're a very tight community where, you know what, they love each other, they love hard, and they love hard around with everybody. It's not just, you go your way, I go my way. No, they are together. It's a unity together.
Yes, yes, and so, I believe that God like had me go through all these trials and tribulations, and I had to volunteer. I had to give back to the community that I created harm to like just, my legacy when I die. I like just, hey, this guy wasn't a bad guy after all. He did pretty good in the community. So like, and so now and my thing is, this is my story, but we have all these stories within the organization, and we put in leadership in place and positions of programming directors, and that are really doing great jobs, and so I'm really proud of that. And so, what's my exit plan, right? 5-10 years, I'll still be a part of youth empowerment, but there's other things that I want to get into as far as business. And so, like, because it ain't about me. Like, I need to, like, who's gonna fill my role as CEO?
Right.
Who's that next person that's gonna come in? And so that's part of the vision as well. And so, yeah, this is all genuine, and it's.
Well, there's no doubt that it is. I mean, you're very much passionate in all of this, and I think it's wonderful. And honestly, I wish I could do something like this, and I probably could. But you're meant to do this, right? One thing you had mentioned, well, just a little bit ago, is she was working, you were part-time, you were like, ugh. In that beginning stages when, money wasn't or money was a bit more tight and you were trying to do this, okay, let me back up. When you were doing, selling drugs is easy money, right? And it's
Can
really
confirm.
hard. It's really hard to transition into.
Was I tempted?
Yes, that's what I'm
Was I
saying. It's
tempted?
really hard. I've been there. I've been there. It's really hard to transition into that. It's easy pickings over here. I can make all this money, but I want to do things on the straight and narrow. What you're
Yeah.
right. Was it tempting? You heard
No,
you read
not
my
at
thought.
all.
Good. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
not
Once
at
you make
all.
that decision, right? You're like, nope, I got to do it. I got to do it the right way.
Not at all, because I use that Benjamin Franklin theory, like weigh it out, and like when you weigh out things, like what's more consistent. And so when I
Right.
did that, like when I did sell drugs, and that money was quick and gone. Money
Yeah, you're
quick,
right. You
gone.
spin it
Money
like that because
quick,
you think you can
gone.
get it.
Or money quick and gone because I'll go back into the institution, right? So then I gotta
Sure.
like get out and start again. So
Sure.
so now that I've been consistent and just consistent in the work and the building, I'm good. Like, my
Sure.
family's good. We're blessed.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I've found in my life the things I achieved or the very first time I was able to rent a home for just me and and it was me making the money, working at a shoe store, I felt more proud of than anything I ever got, doing the things I did before. um, one thing one other thing that I want to ask is, did you find, I mean, dope friends are there for being dope friends, or criminal friends, or was it hard to adjust to life after that? And because they all kind of scatter, were there some people that stayed and worked with you to be better, or I mean, did you
So
find it hard to adjust to not having those type of I hate to say it, criminal element friends that you thought were your bros, as opposed to now being more meaningful?
yeah, and so when we started this movement, like I
Mhm.
would bring all the people into the community, right? In the engagement in hopes to uplift them so they could be leaders.
Right.
And guess what? Like we got one that went to Joaquin. We went at his ceremony. I did a keynote there. He's going to the University of La Jolla. What is it?
It's
Oh,
UCSD.
UCSD. He like, right. He's about to get his master's. One of them created his own nonprofit. Now is like helping other youth. This person went ahead and did this, and so like this is bigger than the impact that we're having. Like
Mhm.
we created leaders into that process,
That's
and
wonderful.
so the people that like were part of that, we stayed connected. So
Yeah.
now I have a strong support system, right? And anybody could call on me too. And so we call on each other. We work on our personal development. And so, my homies that aren't ready, I tell them, like when they come into a reentry program, hey, look, man, if you're not ready, that's okay. But you ain't gonna waste my time right now, right? Like,
I love
come
that.
back
Yeah.
come back when you're ready, and I'm gonna be here with loving arms and help you, and so that we're on the same page. And so they respect that, and they love me. And you people ask me like, "Hey, did you get jumped out or like all this?" And right, that's the stereotype.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
No, I never did none of that, or they not coming after me, and all the stories that you hear. Instead of like, we're looked at as beacons of hope in the community, and so when you're helping their kids and nieces and all that, they're like, "No, man, this we need this."
That's
And so,
wonderful.
I
yeah,
love
so
what
we've been
Barbara
able to.
here.
So District Attorney Romo, my sister-in-law, she's a district attorney in New Mexico, says, I really admire you for having the courage to turn your life around and use your experiences to help others. She was
Thank
actually
you,
on last week's show, and she,
yeah, no,
Oh, she was right.
yeah, and yeah, tell her I said hello. Like,
yes,
oh,
she's here.
okay, yeah, okay,
We're all
yeah,
live here.
uh, we need to have these like relationships with these district attorneys, and so
Mhm.
as a gang expert, like I work with the side of the lawyer, and so I go in there and I explain on the discoveries and everything that goes to that, and I have like my perspective, and the DA might have their perspective, but
Sure.
and which is great. And then I've been able to establish these relationships with the DAs, and
That's
so
wonderful.
I come out of testifying as an expert in court, and then we're all leaving home, and the last incident where like I was speaking on this kid charged as a adult who's a juvenile, and as I'm getting ready to leave, this other car pulls by. He's a DA, and like, oh, I'm coming after you, right? Like, I'm coming after you this next court, like, and so I'm laughing, and so
Hmm.
we're able to have a cup of coffee together, and like, it's just crazy how like I was against the system for so long, and now that like I've created relationships from all leadership, probation, summer Stephans, DAs, like county, U.S. attorneys, on how coming together for a common goal to like, okay, we need some rehabilitation process too to
Absolutely.
really help these individuals. And because if we don't do that, when they return back into the community, they're going to go back to the same stuff, create the harm, and then so we're repeating that traumatic cycle of violence again. So, yeah, I partner with system folks all around, and we all respect our work, and we move forward to build a healthy community with different perspectives and opinions, which is great. But what are we all doing to build healthy communities?
And
So
let's be
I have
real.
a
I mean, I
oh,
apologize. Go ahead,
sorry,
Rose.
sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Sam.
I was just
Oh,
going to say, I think what our judicial system needs is rehabilitation. I feel like it's
Yes.
so much of let's just throw you in jail and
Yeah.
not do anything to help. Let's get to the root of the problem. And I think it could save a lot of everything. You know what I mean? People, if we took that time to nurture rather than just punish, I think it would be a good thing.
so
That's a good balance.
I've got a quick question, and then we'll take a shot.
Okay.
Because
Because
now I
that's
want to
what we do
know.
here.
Okay.
Okay, because this is what we do.
Okay.
I've got a. This is what we do here. So
Yeah. Just let me get my charger because I see
Oh,
5%.
geez.
Yeah.
And just to preface this for the folks there, because we have audio folks and we have
Yes.
visual
Okay.
folks.
yes.
So at the
Oh,
end,
on
for our
the
visual
side.
folks, I want to make sure to play the video, the intro video to your organization, so we're able to kind
On
of
the side.
get a glimpse of what's on the front page and also where to reach you. Right?
Excuse me. What
Yeah.
do you say?
I was saying that we're going to take a look at your video in a bit, the one that's on the front splash of your website,
Okay. Go
just so the
ahead.
folks can
Yeah.
the audio and video, the video folks more right are going to get this, but the audio folks can also hear your message.
And where to find you if
Yeah.
anybody has a question, or
Yeah.
you know what, they're
And-
going through something and they want to reach out to you,
right.
that they're able to come and reach out to you through your platforms and where you're at. We want to make
So-
sure that people know where you're at.
And
But
I saw a
before we go
podcast
that,
there. I saw a
So-
podcast there, so I want to talk about that too. I know you're on a
Yeah.
podcast.
so before we go there, wait, before we go there, I have a question for both of you before we go into
Oh.
the next one.
Okay.
And then we'll take a shot, because this is one is going to be a shot one.
Okay.
Because you both have children, you have beautiful children, beautiful 4 wonderful children that are amazing. Did you at any time feel that you needed to be different with them, treat them differently on how your parents treated you, on how you both were raised, or was it something how do I want to say? Or was it something that you're like, you know what, we need to fall and we need to figure it out? Or is there something that you could say? So before we do that, let's take a shot before you answer. Let's take a shot before we
There are
answer.
steps to this.
There
There's
is
a
steps
lot.
to this. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers, hell, motherfucking yes.
Mm.
So yes.
Because I know you're a dad of 2 beautiful daughters and 2 beautiful sons, handsome sons and 2 beautiful daughters.
Yeah.
Um,
So I love my mother, but she was just all generational trauma. Her mother was tough. Her daddy was tough. Like,
The
and
lady's
so
tough.
she's tough.
The lady's tough.
she is a tough, she is a
Yeah,
tough
so
cookie.
she will not tell you I love you. Like, it's not how she was brought up.
I
'cause
could
she
see her
wasn't
running
told
around
that.
with the chancla coming after you.
And so I know she loves me, but like she doesn't
She
tell me
gets
that.
super awkward if he tries to hug her or something. She'll
Aw.
get super like awkward. Like
So I know that. So I'll be like, hey mom, I love you. And like she gets all like
You'd be like,
She gets
"Coño,
weird.
vete pa'l
she
carajo,
don't
yo no
even
quiero
know how
nada."
to answer.
Yeah.
You don't even know the answer. And so, but she's a great mother. So like now I'm all about emotional intelligence and everything. Like I'm big on emotion. So I teach my kids that like it's okay to have a feeling, because guess what? That feeling's never final. And so it's okay to feel angry, depressed, joyful, peaceful, right? But learning how to cope and manage them feelings. So I'm big on having that conversation. Daddy wasn't there, so I'm the type like I need to give my babies everything that I didn't have, and so that's where I'm at with my kids. Just being present, giving them the best that they could have, engaging them in sports.
When they mess up, what do you when they mess up? Like, has your kids have they? I don't want to say mess up when they have.
All kids get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we've all gotten in trouble. We all have a past.
All the
We've
time.
all done there.
You know what? You know what, Patty? Though, like, cause like, what's your name, Hannah? I'm sorry. Here,
Sam.
Sam. like you, our daughter like has gone through like, whoa. Our kids have gone through like
that's a whole nother podcast.
You know,
Like,
a
whoa.
whole nother podcast. I don't think we got enough time to talk about it.
I agree.
But yeah, no, like same thing though, like the emotional part, like that whole just coming from the Latino background, you know, and like just the way that our parents were with us, you know, not being able, like my mom to this day, I'll be like, Mom, you probably need therapy, you know, not in a disrespectful way, but like, cause she's gone through some things, you know, like she's lost 2 sons, you know, and like, she'll tell me like, no estoy loca. You know, like she ain't crazy. Like,
I get you.
She'd be like,
He knows what's up.
They're not gonna help me. Like, what are they gonna do for me? You know. So that's her view on like mental health. You know. But like as far as us, like I think that the way that we're raising our kids, like being able to like express how they're actually feeling is just key. You know, because like or knowing how they're feeling, you know, recognizing what that feeling is. You know. So as a kid growing up, I felt like ignored. I was a middle child, you know. I felt like I needed attention. You know, it was 5 of us. Like I was just like, oh, and believe me, I got attention in whatever way I could, you know. So in our house, that's big, you know. That's big.
and something that like I'm a trainer too, guys. Like I train like corporates, like DAs, public defender's office. Like I train, and so. I'm big on the trauma-informed practices, the restorative approach. I'm a practitioner in that field, and so I do everything with agreements, like whether it's a program or whether it's in the house. Like, and so once agreements are established, they're not rules; they're agreements. And so if someone breaks the agreements, or the kids break the agreements. Now it's like you can hold yourself accountable because we came up with these agreements together, and guess what? You're breaking them. So you agreed to it, now you're breaking them. And so it's an agreement to where, you know, not even we're gonna give her a car for graduation. Like put an agreement together. You need to have a license. You need to have insurance. Like right, like you know, like all that good stuff. And so that's how we roll here. And
kind of a follow-up question to Rose's. With both of my girls, I've been pretty honest. Oh, I didn't mean to make balloons. Sorry. With both of my girls, I've been pretty honest. My oldest daughter, I was way too honest. With my youngest, I put it in age appropriateness, right? How forthcoming are you about your past with your kids and at what, you know what I mean? Like again, with my oldest, I was too honest too quick, and she was like, maybe I want to try that too. And my youngest, I was like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I held off a little bit. Now she's 19, and I've let her know a little bit more now than I did when she was younger. So how does that work with you guys?
So the 2 older ones, they already know everything. They live it, they seen it. There ain't no like we ain't got a bullshit about it. Like it is what it is. They were part of it. Our 2 little ones don't know nothing, and so that
when
racial
will you kind of bring that up to them?
That racial disparities articles that you read.
Yes.
I had my kid read it.
Oh, okay.
Because that was like my opening to get him to understand.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yes.
And then so like after he read it, he probably just skim read it and didn't read it thoroughly. But he was like, "Dad, you went to jail?" I go, "Yes, son, I went to jail." I go, "Yeah, I went to jail." And I thought we were gonna have that conversation. He was like, "So you went to jail for running a red light?" I go, "Yeah."
He put that together. Well, I don't know.
You're like, sure, that's what happened.
I have the.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah. So that it's time is gonna be right. Like
Yes,
right
I get
now,
you.
he wants to be a professional soccer player or a police officer,
Cool.
and I'm cool with that. Like, I encourage, like, okay, whatever it is that your passion is. So the time is gonna
So when
be
they
right.
ask, you'll tell them?
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Good.
when the time comes.
Yeah, and then like it's my book is coming out next month, y'all.
I can't wait to read it,
Yeah,
actually.
like,
I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
like
Oh yeah.
I'm contemplating the title. I'm thinking maybe the resilience blueprint or the ripple effect. I'm having.
I mean, that's one of your the three pillars is resilience, right?
It's resilience.
Resilience.
I've
Yes.
got
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Truthful Sweets here said, who found these people? These people are awesome. Love them. Truthful, these are friends of mine. They're actually really good friends of mine that I've known for years. And I've seen them blossom from a lot. I've seen them blossom to where they're at now, to see them from where they come from. And
Yeah.
I'm truly honored to be your guys' friends. So
Thank you.
They heard us talk a lot of shit. They've heard us talk a lot of shit. So
No.
here we are.
Also,
Yeah.
Barb
We-
said,
let me go
no
back
one
down.
wants to be a criminal. Life circumstances sometimes make people feel like they are no good. There are no good alternatives besides the same bad choices that led them to where they are. So that's my sister-in-law, Barb, district attorney.
The
So
district attorney.
yeah,
Live
she's
here.
amazing.
We've got
you guys would love her.
Yeah.
We've got
Love to
Kaylee that
connect.
joined us. Kaylee, welcome. Kaylee, I love you, girl. She's in Tokyo, I believe. I want to say.
Oh, wow.
No, she's in Thailand.
Thailand.
Oh,
Thailand.
okay.
That's what it is.
Wow.
Kaylee is a good
I've
friend
been
of
to
ours.
Tokyo, Japan.
She's in Thailand.
She's in Thailand. My bad.
Yeah.
But love you, Kaylee. Thank you for joining us. In the room. Hello, everyone.
I know we're close to the end.
Yeah.
I have just one more question.
We gotta shout out the people on X. We gotta
Yes,
shout
we
out the people
we
on
will.
X.
Yeah.
We will. Can we do that? Just
Thank you so much, everybody on X, for
Yes.
watching. Give us
do it.
subscribe
Yes.
right
Thank
now.
you.
All
Yes.
Real quick, Dave,
do it.
Thank you very much.
Dave has something here. Oh, did we lose them?
Why? Maybe. Where'd they go?
Where did they go?
I wanted to catch all you guys on X because wow, that was
Yes,
amazing.
thank
As soon
you
as I
so much.
reposted it, all you guys
Yeah.
are watching. What an amazing platform to be live on as well. So thank you so much. Check how
No,
long I've been on there.
Don't
and
put
look-
that
and look-
on there. I will talk to them later. They can. My husband's pimping our show. Where did they go? I have questions. I have
Oh, I
other
know.
things to say.
They probably went off to their nonprofit to help more people. They're like
I
they're like the
know.
Avengers.
His
you know
phone
what?
probably
Amazing.
died.
His
Their
phone
thing probably died.
Let me send her a
Well,
quick
give
message
it up.
here.
Give it up for these people. I mean, Arturo. That was amazing. I wanted to
Holy
hit a
cow.
couple of more prison stories. I want to know about the shanking. We glazed over a lot of stuff that was like, oh yeah,
Yes.
I just what kept you in jail? Well,
Stabbings
shankings, and I'm like,
and
stabbings. Well, tell me about the fucking
trafficking.
Tell me about the drugs, the stabbing, or the stabbings on drugs. Give me the drug
Yes.
stabbings. I want more drug stabbings. You know me. Hey,
So
Kaylee,
much
what's
shit
going
to
on?
unfold. Hey, Kaylee, thank you for listening.
Hey,
It's been a while.
Kaylee.
I haven't seen you in forever.
And Truthful Sweet.
Also,
and
it would be
Barbara.
nice for them to be on our show too, but it's not the same type of show.
We have listeners all the way in Thailand that are cannabis store owners, all the way
Yes.
to Arizona district attorneys live here. Who else? Where are you going to get this? Where are you going to get this? Share the
this
show.
is- Honestly,
Raw footage.
this has been a great show, guys.
It has been.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I like this little like.
Can we
Yes.
play a little bit of his clip, AC? Can
Yes,
we-
let's
can
play
we
that
get us a-
now.
Yeah, I wanted to do that,
Yeah.
but I wanted to, and especially wanted to. He had a couple quotes, and then he had I wanted to ask him about the podcast because that hit home. I was like searching through his
I was like, I
YouTube,
want to fucking listen
and
to
I
that.
saw them in front of a fucking podcast thing with their whole thing. They had an awesome background.
Oh.
You know.
Yes.
So I
You know
want
what?
to ask him
Can you
about
do
that.
your shout out
Recording.
first? Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We
We got him. We got him back. We got him
we
back.
did it.
Oh,
We did it.
sorry.
Bang, bang.
It wasn't plugged all the way in. We thought it was charging, but it wasn't.
So
I'm
we want to
sorry.
play a little bit. We want to play a little bit of your clip, and then
Okay.
there's a couple more questions we want to ask you before we end our podcast. But we want to play a little bit of your clip on everything, and then we'll move on forward. But I know AC wants to do a couple shout outs real quick to
Yeah.
people who are on Twitch and
X.
X.
Formerly
X, everybody
known
on
as
X right now on my
Twitter.
X on the Midnight Media X. blowing up there. So thanks everybody there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, hit that link. You can see us on YouTube. That's the visual podcast. We're also newly on Spotify. We are now on Apple. We are on iHeartRadio, Amazon. So just tell Alexa you want to be tantalized by
you want to hear, right? Just go ahead.
Alexa, play the Roses Are Red podcast, and it'll play us.
You see what fucking happens. You know?
Yeah.
See what happens.
And I do want to say thank you, Gabby, and thank you, Arturo, for coming on and being our guest tonight. I do want to say thank you. I love you guys dearly. I've seen you guys grow from, you know, being with my husband and to where you're at now is fucking amazing. And it's just, it's beautiful to see that there's still actually people out there that care about our community and want to do a difference and want to help these kids, because I do know that especially when COVID hit, a lot of these kids hit a hard time. And you know, I'm a mother of 4, and I know that, you know, Gabby knows from personal experience from my daughter and her son, we went through a lot of shit. So we shared a lot of stories. We sat outside the clubhouse. Yeah.
All of us.
El mundo entero se cagó.
Yes, and I know me and Gab, we used to have this clubhouse. Real quick, we used to have this clubhouse.
I love that clubhouse.
Right, we sit out this clubhouse, and it had the pirate, and it had the pirate from the Pirates of the
poker
Caribbean
table,
in the poker table, and we used to sit there and play card games and just get, you know, we just get nice and toasty.
It was nice.
And you know, we would share our stories with our kids and sit there and be like, my kid's doing this and da da da. You know, we had a lot of stories, and thank you, Gabby, and please say thank you to your husband.
I know he went to check on the kids.
Please say thank you for doing this.
We certainly need more people like you. Without after school programs for myself, I was a latchkey kid when I was in the 90s, in the early 90s.
Yeah,
certainly was the same. And without after school programs, I would have been up to all types of hijinks and shenanigans that I should have been up to. So thank God for that. You know, I grew up in Miami. I grew up in Coral Gables, but that didn't really matter, right? It was like an affluent part, but what's right next to it? You know, Coconut Grove, like probably the most ethnically charged part. So like we were all mixed, and it was all a huge challenge to keep ourselves out of trouble. I was in trouble. I was out of trouble. Relatively good kid for the most part. A lot of luck. I should have been dead a few times over. So people who put these things together is my point. Like people who put together after schools things to be able to get the kids' minds going in good ways. Thank you for doing that, because it's the only way. It's the only way.
Yes.
Right. So with that said,
I got you.
But you gotta put a shirt on now, bro.
No, you gotta put no shirt on, bro. Come on, flex.
I do want to see my tattoos.
I love them.
You know what? Absolutely.
Which ones are from prison?
All.
Which ones are from prison? All.
Let's see the tattoos. Okay, you got to show us the tattoos.
Okay.
Belly.
Okay.
That slim body.
One thing I want to ask you real quick is, what is your guys' secret on a good marriage? I mean, what has kept you, you know, obviously 14 years together and, you know, 10 years married. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's something to be proud of. What is your guys' secret, or what piece of advice would you give to newlyweds or, you know, people coming up?
I say that the same advice my dad gave us when we barely were engaged. Respect, communication, you know?
Yeah.
Communicate it. If you're bothered, if you're feeling some type of way, communicate it, you know?
I agree. Yeah.
We still have trouble doing that, but
who doesn't, right?
My tongue
Who doesn't?
There's one quote
there's
Sam
never
had.
perfect marriage. Like we just got to build through it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And you know, respect each other.
Yeah.
I love that one quote, Sam, that you asked your friend a couple weeks ago what was the meaning of marriage, and I forgot it, but it was so touching.
The gentleman. Okay, so I my in real life business is senior healthcare, and so I speak to a lot of people who've been together 50 years, and I asked this one gentleman. I said, you know, what's your secret? He goes, you have to learn how to disagree or learn how to fight nice.
Yeah.
You
Pick and choose.
you can't, you know, he goes, basically, you have to learn how to make up.
Yeah.
Understand that you're going to disagree, but the longer you disagree is bad on the relationship. Once you can get over it and, you know, move past it, then you're good. And the way he was speaking about his wife, who now has dementia, which was heartbreaking, it was just so sweet. He goes, you just have to move on and get and be better. It was very sweet. But yes, I hear a lot of those things.
And when you learn,
gotta
to
pick and
disagree,
choose.
when you learn to disagree, the sex
Well,
is supposed
I
to be
guess
amazing, right? Like,
actually, I'm sorry. Let me back up. He said the faster you make up, or the faster you get over it, the faster you can fall in love again.
you get to banging.
It's
You
just
get to fall in love again.
Well, that too, but it's just draining. It's so draining to be like holding a grudge, like
That's
it's like
dumb.
trying to. It's draining. I don't got the energy for that. You know.
All right, so let's end it
All
like
right.
this, guys. For everybody who's been listening, thank you so much for hanging
Yes.
out there. I know my mom is listening tonight. She's on a boat somewhere in Catalina Island,
Nice.
California. So thank you
She's
so
on
much,
a boat.
Mom,
Hi,
and everybody
Mom.
else. Make sure to like, subscribe. We're on X. We have so many people on X. I can't wait to tell everyone, but I'm not going to tell you now. So many people. And please like, subscribe, hit the button on YouTube if you want to see the visual. If not, we have audio podcasts that are going out to Spotify and all that stuff. But to end this one out, I see you doing what we do. We do a podcast. Do you do a podcast? What's this all about?
It looks like a road.
They did a
roadcaster there.
Is this
so
pop in.
Oh yeah, so that
Wait, watch out.
so that podcast we were just going live and doing that from social media, but now we have a media person puts our content together. They come and film the podcast and then edit and then put it out there on our social media platforms. So it's called Victorious Voices, and the core of it is lived experience, how individuals with journeys from destruction to production, redemption, resilience, and individuals that support that process as well. So we've had system folks, individuals that are returning back into community, their stories, their narratives on how they're coping with life and now doing great things in the community.
And Art and Gabby, where can people find you if they want to look you up? What's your platforms where they can find you if they want to message you, if they want to reach out to you and start something in their community, for them to help out where they're from, if it's, maybe in Texas or maybe in Nebraska. I mean, who knows? Where can they find you?
The website. So there's a contact us information email.
Yep. And it's youth empowerment.
That contact us, that gets directly to us. And
can we play this clip?
Yeah.
Can we play this clip here?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, we actually read the emails too, so
that's
FYI.
wonderful.
So it's
your hands on, right?
Yeah.
youthempowermentsd.com, and we're gonna after this show I'm gonna put the link in the description. That way you guys can see it. But
youthempowermentsd.org.
They got a whole ass YouTube page, and they have shorts, and they have all types of stuff that I was looking at.
Oh, it's .com and .org, I guess.
Yep. They also have an IG or an Instagram that I was looking and perusing
on
through. They also have a Facebook.
And on Facebook,
We were looking at all those pictures on Facebook.
Oh, and on LinkedIn as well.
And then just Google me, Arthur Soriano. I'm the first one that comes up.
Find them. And this is your video for the
There's not too
the
many
website.
Arthur Sorianos.
Right?
It's true.
All right. So we'll play this, and then we'll say our goodbyes after this. How's that sound?
That sounds great. All right, I'm not hearing any sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. And you have to do the edge tab.
I'm eating dinner right now.
Share.
I need some dinner even myself.
Let's do that one. Can you guys hear this?
Yes, now. We can hear it now.
My role at Youth Empowerment is to support individuals with lived experience. These are individuals that have been impacted by the justice system or the prison system.
Okay, yeah.
We have 2 tiers of youth programs. Our first tier is our youth who are on juvenile probation. Our second youth program that we have is in the San Diego Unified School District. And our lived experience mentors go into the San Diego Unified School District. And we provide mentorship within groups and also individualized mentorship for the kids.
And the compassion that I have for the children is to give back and to mentor them when it comes to their behavior or certain emotional issues that they may struggle with, as of dealing with those issues in a positive, healthy, and productive way.
Being somebody that has had lived experience, has been able to identify my traumas, being able to learn that about myself has allowed me an amazing opportunity to connect with individuals on levels that far exceed the norm because of the self-reflections.
The high level of support that Youth Empowerment gave me, they gave me therapy, they gave me support, they gave me the resources to step up in life.
I believe that every human being that has overcome incarceration, that has been able to walk out of a cage and still have their sanity, is a phenomenal human being.
Our budget, 90% goes into programming. We need support so we can build capacity within the organization and to have all our structures in place.
God,
That
that's
is a
so
legit
touching.
video.
That's
Hey, so on an ending note for me,
Yep.
that lady that you seen right there, I went to middle school with her.
Did you?
She went to prison for a murder at the age of 17. She did 25 years. And 15 of the years were like rehabilitation. They were programming, like starting her own program within institutions. Like kids would go in there from the outside to her programs. Then Governor Newsom and the board released her on her first time at the board. And she came out into the community 4 months out, still on parole. I hired her. She became our COO. And then within 10 months, she left. She's the one that left to another opportunity as far as like policy change. Because she wants to close down prisons. So, that's just an example of the work of where the participants that we serve, that's our priority on who's going to be our next hire, who's going to be our next employee. And so we look for that. So I just wanted to share that before I leave. And thank you guys for having me, but I have to attend to something else, okay?
We
I'm
love
so
you.
proud
Thank
of you
you.
guys. Thank you.
Certainly.
I'm so proud.
Thank you
so
so
Thank
much.
you
proud of
so
you guys.
much.
I am so
We'd love
proud
to
of
have you
both
back
of
on.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
Love you guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
I am
Right,
so
guys.
so
Have a
proud
good
of
night.
so proud of you.
Nice to meet
both
y'all.
of you.
Bye. Nice
Have
to
a
meet
good
you
one.
guys.
Enjoy your night.
Nice to meet you.
Night.
Bye.
Oh.
Oh, let's get her out of here
Oh,
before we hear something we don't want to hear.
there we go.
There we go.
There we go. They deserve their privacy.
Wow.
They do.
What an amazing night.
It really was. I thoroughly
was.
enjoyed that. I had a lot of questions. He was an open book. We
It
threw a
was
lot at him.
wonderful.
We threw a lot at him, and he did it. You know what I'd like to do, ladies? The
Yes.
next time, you know how we have Barbara on to kind of analyze
Mhm.
some cases, an actual district attorney to join us, which is, where are you going to do
Can
that?
we have them
We're-
both
we're
on at
friends,
the same
right?
time?
We should have him. We should do
Right.
whenever we do a jailhouse piece. When we do like a jailhouse, like a
Yes.
hardcore
Actually-
jailhouse piece, we should bring him in and be like, "What do you think about that? Have you ever seen that?" And and have like a in-depth perspective on an inmate.
I kind of
I'd
like
like
them
to have
both
his-
to,
Oh,
I'd
and
like to
then
have his
go at
partner.
it.
And
I'd
then
like
you
to have
got-
his partner.
yeah, but dude, you can't do Game of Thrones season 9. You gotta you gotta get there.
Truth.
Truth. You got Iron Man has to come out. Iron Man 2.
Well, with that said, I love you all and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And I can't wait to see you guys next Friday at the same time, 7 p.m. and 9. Oh, fuck. I always
Central.
forget-
Yes.
Central time. I always forget. I always get
It
the
don't
9.
matter. It don't matter.
It's
West Coast
fine.
is the best
You
coast.
just find it as us at you'll just find us at the same time every week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Spend Friday night with us. We'll get cocktails and true crime. Everybody on X, thank you for being here. So many people on X. I appreciate that.
Thank
Hit
you
the
so much, folks.
subscribe
Yes.
button. We're trying to get to 500 for various reasons. It will
Yes,
be a
we are
personal milestone
so
for us.
close.
Yep.
We
Look
are
at that.
so close.
We're close.
Oh my gosh, he's got the raver Mary Magdalene like.
And if you guys have a story, if there's a story you guys want us to feature, if there's something you've been following and
Yes,
there's
send
something
it
there,
to us.
please send it to us. And you know what? We'd love to feature you on and see what your thoughts and your opinions on, so please send us your thoughts on Instagram. Give us if there's a story, like I said, that you want us to feature, we'll go ahead
Are
and
you a
do
law
that.
enforcement officer? Are you a CO? Are you someone that's close to any judicial system, criminal justice?
Yes,
We'd love
let
to hear
us
your
know.
story. We'd love to have you on. So
Yes, absolutely. Send us a message on Instagram and we will go ahead and get back to you right away. And you can go ahead and listen to us. We are proud to say we are on iHeartRadio and Spotify. We are so excited. So you can go ahead and Amazon. You can actually
Yes.
ask your Alexa to play. We are there. So
Play the Rose Alexa.
Run.
Play the Roses
Run.
Are Red podcast. Everybody who's listening right now,
Oh,
your
God.
Alexas are growing fucking crazy.
Shut up, Alexa.
Did
I
I
told
do
you.
it? Did I
Yes.
do it?
Of course you did. My refrigerator downstairs is going, what is happening? My refrigerator, yeah, I have a Samsung refrigerator. It talks to me. It's stupid. It's like,
You know what? I think before we go, we should take
Should
one
we
more
do a shot? Yes.
because you know what? I love you, motherfuckers.
I love you so much. I am so
out
happy
there.
that
Anybody
we
out there?
have our little Three Musketeer family here.
Come do it. Come do it with us.
Come do it with us.
If you're a pirate, if you're a chronic alcoholic, if you just do it for fun, if you're trying it for the first time, if it's your 21st birthday, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. And plus, next
my
week we do
husband.
have.
There he
Hey,
is.
Dave! Here we go. Cheers,
Well,
everyone.
pirate.
Cheers.
Yar.
That was awesome.
Wow. To
Love
sugary
y'all.
rum and the Caribbean.
Yes.
We will see everybody on next Friday. And
What are we doing next Friday?
because we've got a lot
Don't
of
know yet.
updates next Friday. We got tons of updates next Friday on the Gypsy Rose update,
Ooh.
on the Alexa Chorizo updates, which is going to be amazing. And
If anybody's watching the show on Netflix of Rena Verk, the person that we talked to,
Yes.
we
The
talked
Under the
about
Bridge.
from 97. If anybody's watching that, Under the Bridge, send us a message and tell me what Tiffy, I'm looking at you. I know you're watching.
Tiffy, I'm looking at you.
I'm looking at you.
And there's a lot. And if you guys haven't been on Hulu has came out with some amazing crime stories that
There's
are
been
just
some good ones coming out. I
Yeah.
know. We
Yeah,
might
and
have
there's
to
some
deep dive.
We need a
deep
hot
dive into those.
We need a hot pot of tea soon to spill.
Yes.
Yes. But we do
gotta
have some
spill
on
the
Gypsy
tea.
Rose. So I'll see you next Friday on Gypsy Rose and the Alexa Chorizo. We've got updates on both of those.
Not you.
Stay tuned. So love you guys. We'll see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Hey, audio guys in audio land, Spotify.
Bye.
Welcome to the fold.
As we